Hey, welcome to the Fit for Purpose podcast, where we believe exploring fitness and health can help you lead a life of purpose.
My name is Jacob. This is my friend Brandon. And in today's episode, we dive into all things protein, from how much is right for you to the best sources.
Yeah, in today's day and age, protein is a really convoluted discussion. And so hopefully this episode can help provide you with some clarity and with some best practices to serve you well.
Yep. Join us as we dive in.
What makes it tangible, makes it feasible for the average individual, because it's not this like unfathomable number that I have to hit.
Do you want to be healthier? If you want to feel better, if you want to look better, right? Just integrating some simple habits and changing the way that you view food a little bit can have a huge impact on the long term.
It is highly attainable, and it is merely just a shift in perspective versus, putting up that guard and trying to fight against it. I did, I had a small season where I did the half CBD, half THC,
nice.
Gummy stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like for me that worked well in the sense that I just got that decompression where you're just sinking into that couch.
Yeah, it just melts you a little bit.
Yeah.
It's I'm here.
I've gone to the milder
Cozy
version of it and just doing some magnesium. It's not
but you stack 300 milligrams of magnesium with 1 milligram of melatonin and
oh my gosh,
some
dude.
CBD.
You sound like a Navy SEAL trying to just put themselves out.
I slept 9 hours last night.
That's crazy. Maybe I just need to do that.
I needed it, but
So I did not. I've been throwing my Whoop back on.
nice.
And it tracks your sleep, and it was I had a moment last night where I was up from 1 a.m. till probably 3 almost.
Last night?
Yeah.
'Cause your
It's
hip?
an hour and 50. Yeah, my hip, stress. I just kind of woke up when I was up and it was damn, this is
No
so,
bueno.
yeah, I need a good night's sleep. That's the
Damn, dude. What are you stressed about besides your hip?
dude, I don't know. I am a high anxiety person. If my brain gets going, especially at night, it does not shut down. So I just gotta
Are you drinking a lot of caffeine?
that's probably some of it, because I have upped it. We have an espresso machine, so I'll do a coffee, a normal just pour over coffee in the morning, and this is 5, 6 a.m. And then sometimes about noon I'll do an espresso, a 2-shot thing.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably plays a little bit into it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm able to fall asleep really well. It's the staying asleep. And if I wake up at night, I'm up. And then it takes that little bit to kind of wind back down and go back to sleep.
Interesting.
Some of it too is our kids. Our kids will come into our room.
Yeah.
And, it's you get out of bed. It's the whole thing of putting them back in theirs, getting them to go to sleep. And now it's okay, my heart rate's going. I was up on my feet, so then you need that wind down. Parents can relate.
Dude, just freaking let them crawl in bed. Let's go.
No, because they don't.
Cuddle
That's the thing.
sesh.
They won't.
Really?
Bennett, my son, this morning, almost every day at this point now, he'll get up around 5:36, and then he'll come into our room. And at that point, it's we know that if we put you back in your room, you're not going to go back to sleep. So we'll let him crawl up, but then he's just up. And then it's just kind of I'm in mom and dad's bed. I'm here.
He's just hanging out.
Yeah,
You're
I want to play. I want to go. Yeah. Dad, I want to go out there. It's what does that mean? He wants to go watch his show, get his milk or whatever snack and sit
get
there
up on the couch, get his snack going.
Watch his cartoons.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that sounds like a great morning.
It's a good life, dude. They live a good life, man.
I'm going to curl up on the couch with my snack, and I'm just going to ease into the day with a
dude.
glass of milk.
And I'm just going to throw a damn fit if nothing goes my way.
Yeah, dude.
This milk isn't cold enough. Just kidding. It's bad. You stupid imbecile. And you're the parent.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Why is my day starting this way?
I hate this episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, so maybe I'll try your little concoction here.
Dude, some magnesium, 1 milligram of melatonin.
Yeah.
Maybe even less, half milligram.
Do you find that with melatonin though, are you groggy in the morning?
No. And not if you do
just a little bit.
Yeah. I actually have a supplement that's like, it's a powder and it's 200 milligrams of magnesium and it's 0.3 milligrams of melatonin.
Nice.
And I'll do like a 1.5 dose. It's really like half a milligram of melatonin.
It's not like the Calm brand.
No,
like, you know
it's
what I'm talking about?
called, it's from Moon Juice.
Moon Juice. Okay.
It's called
Is it
magnesium. I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a couple other things in there. It's got L-theanine in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which
They
is
say like
relaxing.
glycinate's like the one for rest recovery.
Yeah.
But
it's the
some of
best
them
one
will
for
be,
sleep.
is it citrate?
Yeah,
And
citrate or malate.
which,
or,
like, if you do too much of that, you're just going to, like, poo your pants kind of thing. Like, it's...
Yeah, the citrate can make you poop yourself.
It's like having too much, like, vitamin C almost. Like,
Yeah. The L-threonate's like, it's known for, I don't know how true this is, but it's known for being the one that can, out of 7, that can cross the blood-brain barrier. So,
Whoa.
like, can get magnesium, like, straight to your brain.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just hype marketing or if that's actually true.
And this is a good thing. This is what we
Magnesium L-threonate, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because I
knows?
was taking that, like, from Sprouts, you can get that, like, Calm supplement.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like a sleep remedy thing.
Mhm.
And I was doing that for a while, but I noticed if I did, like, a little bit too much, it would, like, doesn't sit well.
in your
So
stomach.
I switched over to glycinate. Like, I just got
Yeah.
some from Costco.
I do,
and-
I can drop like 500 milligrams of the glycinate. It doesn't mess
Nice.
with my intestines at all.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, I certainly
Unless you're
notice a
constipated.
difference. Like, I'll do it. Like, we'll put the kids to bed, like around 7:45 ish. By 8, they're like, okay, they're gonna go to sleep soon, and then maybe like between 8:40 and 9, I'll take the magnesium, and then that way, like by 9:30, I'm like ready to rock.
yeah,
So
ready to rock. As I mean,
as
ready.
rock to sleep.
Yeah, not like
Like I said, dude, I'll fall asleep like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
so we're
so-
talking. We'll jump in.
we're talking about diarrhea from magnesium.
That's what we're talking about.
Talking about magnesium
Number
diarrhea.
2.
Yeah, dude,
Protein intake,
yes,
dude.
I mean, yeah, just protein in general.
Yeah, in general.
Right.
I think protein, dude, it's interesting. Like, I've seen this trend, and it's probably just because social media and what gets pushed from a content standpoint. Like, I feel like it is everywhere. Like, as far as conversations around it, whether it's like joking about it, whether it's, you know, trainers, and it could just be maybe the algorithm I see, but like, it feels like it's everywhere talking about protein.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy and kind of catchy thing to talk about, especially with like short reels on Instagram and
course.
like shorts on YouTube. They're like, I see ones that are like, has like some dude like looking jacked and shredded, and it's like the 200 grams of protein diet. Like, there's just like catchy stuff to get.
Or the one
Yeah,
right
give you the
now
click,
that's
but-
huge is like the cutting board. Like, have you seen this?
Oh,
Where it's like-
yeah.
And not that I'm against what's on those cutting boards, because that's like primarily what I'm eating.
it's
I feel
good foods.
attacked in a way, but like, I don't want to be lumped into the
cutting board.
cutting board trend of, I got my like
Yeah, where did that start?
ribeye
It was like-
steak and my raw cheese and my, you know, it's
like-
it's the whole thing.
Yeah, it was like Paul Saladino, and then like other like
Yeah.
primal. you
But
know,
now
dudes,
it's all
like
the frat
carnivore.
boys.
Oh,
That's
really?
what I see.
That's
it's
funny.
it's all these like frat boys with their shirts off, and they're like, if you're not eating this every day, you're an idiot. It's like, chill,
If you're not
guy.
eating off of a freaking
Yeah.
cutting board,
They're
then
barely pushing 225 on any lift, and they have their baby 6-pack, and they have their cutting board,
And their cutting board
and they're
full of
like
steak.
literally attacking whoever's watching their video. That if you're not doing this, you're an idiot.
then unfollow me.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I mean-
glad to. No, just kidding.
As long as it's not a plastic cutting board.
Oh yeah,
we're
we don't want those. Don't get those microplastics.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, protein is such a broad topic. Like, it's a catchy, like, it's like a catchword, protein.
Yeah.
Right? Because like people would just people assimilate that word. They assume when they hear that word, they just automatically imagine growing muscle mass. Right? And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's also been like pushed as healthy,
Yep.
which it can be, but I also hear things like, oh, I eat peanut butter because it's high in protein, or I eat beans because they're
Yeah.
high in protein.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's talk about what high in protein really
Sure.
means, or relative, right?
Yep.
Relatively high in protein, and you know, amino acid profiles, and how all those other things play into it too. So
Yeah, dig into that a little bit, because I would totally agree. I think we have this wave of individuals who are seeking maybe the wrong types of foods in terms of like, if we have a protein goal for the day, like we're missing the mark because we're so focused on like these ones that aren't maybe bioavailable, which we can kind of get into what that means, that aren't going to be like bang for your buck as far as consuming a high amount and getting that head start for your day. And maybe they're higher in other macronutrients to where we're over consuming in some areas and maybe missing the mark. So maybe dive into some of that a little bit.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I struggle with the most, so as a coach, when I'm working with people, when I'm working with my clients, this is kind of my frame. I'm trying to get them to wrap their heads around how much protein they actually need to consume and what they need to center their diet around. I struggle because they believe that they're eating enough protein because they're eating things like peanut butter, or they're eating some eggs in the morning, or they're putting a little bit of protein in their coffee. And it's just, I don't think people have a full, kind of relative understanding of centering their diet around a high quality protein source. Like each meal should be kind of centered around a high quality protein source.
Yep.
You look at something like peanut butter and it's, what is it, like 7 grams of protein per serving?
Yeah, it's not much. And you're going to get almost equal fats for... Yeah.
And you can get into detail about the types of oils that you're consuming. A lot of our supply of peanuts are infected with like mold and mycotoxins. And so there's problems with like peanut butter and, over consuming nuts and seeds in general.
Well, and just even at the very core of it, it's high calorically. Like,
that too.
Because like we'll get into like what is the right amount of protein. But let's say at a meal, if I wanted to consume 30 grams of protein and like for whatever happenstance, like I'm looking to peanut butter as the example.
You're eating 5 servings of peanut butter.
And then that's what like, this is going to be like 700 calories.
Yeah, 50 grams of fat.
Yeah, in just that. So
exactly. So it's not really an efficient way to get protein.
Yeah.
And again, like to get enough protein, you're going to have to eat a lot of peanut butter, which is going to have, its own side effects and its own issues.
Of course.
It's also, again, like we talked about, it's not a balanced amino acid profile. So we'll get into a little bit more detail with amino acids. But yeah, as far as protein consumption, like we have these misconceptions around things that have heard are high protein, mostly from marketing, but ultimately the real protein, like when you think of protein, what you should be thinking of is animal foods.
Yes.
Right? Some sort of food that was a living animal at some point, something that had eyes, right?
Make it real, dude.
Yeah.
Make the people,
just saying, it's like,
dude, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm vegan now. So I'm just kidding.
But if you're looking at macronutrients, proteins and fats come from sources of food that are animals.
Yep.
And carbohydrates typically come from foods that are plants, right? So plant foods in general, they may have some protein, some, different amino acids, an incomplete profile, but not highly bioavailable, and again, not efficient for getting your protein. You're not going to get enough protein eating peanut butter and beans and seeds throughout your day, and broccoli. Like
it'd be like we talked about joking about diarrhea. I mean,
you have to consume a lot of food. You have to consume a lot of calories, and then you'd also be tasked with digesting all of that fiber, all those plant foods, and getting those through. So just not the most efficient system for getting our protein needs. So I think base layer, I think we both agree on this. You can get protein from plant sources, but by far the optimal place to get protein in your diet is going to be high quality animal foods. And you've got to center your diet, center each meal around whatever the high quality animal protein is for that meal. And that should be like the mainstay.
Yeah. Yeah, when we talk about kind of getting into like the job of protein, like protein is our building block. It's made up of amino acids, just in a very like simplistic way of saying that. And different sources of food contain different amounts of those amino acids because some of those amino acids are essential. What we mean by essential is if it doesn't have all of the branches, it can't be used for what's called muscle protein synthesis. So if you're lacking in some, we're not going to potentially build muscle with that source of protein. So like animal proteins are highly bioavailable, meaning they will digest, absorb, and be utilized for what we need them to do. And they contain the essential amino acids in order to be utilized for what we want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're saying, like if we're not that it's wrong to consume, plants as sources of that protein, it's just going to be lacking, meaning you're going to have to consume much more of it to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, you should be consuming animal foods for your protein and fat, your proteins and your fat goals, and you should be consuming plant foods for your carbohydrate goals.
Which is actually a really simple way to look at a well-balanced diet too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you have high quality animal proteins, and then you have some high quality plant foods that are giving you, sources of carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're talking about protein today. And like you said, protein is a catch-all term for a bunch of different types of amino acids.
Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of different types of amino acids. Like you said, there are some that are essential. There are 9 essential, and they're essential because your body can't produce them itself. Mm-hmm. From those 9 essential, your body can produce the amino acids that it needs. So it can take those 9 and reconstruct other amino acids that it wants and needs for certain processes in the body, including muscle protein synthesis.
And it's not just building muscle.
Yes,
but
growing muscle is a huge one, right? But then we have something like collagen that contains glycine, which is really important for sleep, and then also repairing connective tissue. Like we were kind of talking about, we were talking earlier, but collagen itself doesn't specifically trigger muscle protein synthesis, and it's not great for building muscle. But like you said, it's good for structure.
Yes,
right, and it repairs soft tissue, so skin, tendon, ligaments, joints, things like that. And then your body uses amino acids for other processes. Processes with your liver, blood flow. There's so many different things that your body needs amino acids for. So it's not just muscle. It's really it really is important for your overall health.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we've kind of gotten to this spot, and we were kind of having a conversation around this where, we see it probably maybe a little bit more than most because of our profession and the world we live in, but there's almost this because there's heavy conversation around protein intake, because there's kind of this great push for all of us in general to get more healthy with where we're at currently as a country, as a world, almost this cynical attitude around protein intake and healthy habits as a whole in that. I saw this meme, and it really kind of triggered me in that sense, where it was it said something, and it's a funny meme. I'll give it credit. It was funny, but it said something like, I had to quit my job because I didn't have enough time to consume enough protein in the day. And not along with that, I've been in a couple other recent social environments where just as a group, we're kind of making light of the idea of something that is really incredibly beneficial for us. And maybe it's the attitude of we're maybe not fully leaning into that practice, or maybe we're ignorant to how we go about that practice. And in turn, it just leaves us feeling anxious and lost in some way. But man, I hope as we kind of dive into this topic, and we offer some explanation, we offer some information, I'd love to just dig into that in some way. Because
I see that too. And I think part of it is people feeling kind of they're falling short, right? So they're being told oh, you need to consume 150 grams of protein a day, and with where they're at with their current diet and their current habits, it seems crazy. It seems impossible. So they feel like they're falling short. So then it's oh, I gotta freaking quit my job just to get my protein in, or people make jokes about people, like you were saying, make light of not working out or not taking care of themselves or being overweight.
Because it's easier to do, really, truly.
Yeah, and then it's comforting to relate to people on something that you're insecure about.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's easier to choose that stance than it is to shift your mindset, kind of shift some of your
Yeah,
habits.
we'll just look in the mirror and say, like, oh, okay, well.
And once you kind of do those things, that's really easy to do too.
Mhm.
But it is that, like you said, look in the mirror and identify what are the things that we need to adjust in order to get on the right track and not live with the crowd who's like, nah, I guess I'll never figure it out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's like, well, some people are doing it, so obviously it can be done.
yeah.
So let's figure it
Yeah,
out.
and there's almost even like this state of like, there's been voices who have pushed it as a negative thing to like consume a lot of protein. They've been trying to build this narrative around, well, it's bad for your kidneys and it's bad for your heart and it's bad for X, Y, and Z. And, oh, your body can't digest and process even that much in general, so you shouldn't do it. Or, but I guess when I hear that kind of stuff, I look at every like healthy individual that I know who's in shape, who, has good blood markers, who's, of good health in general. They are consuming high amounts of protein.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a staple in every single person. And you cannot question that, like from a statistic standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much research to substantiate that claim that eating higher amounts of protein, literally just eating higher amounts of protein without working out more will help you to build a little bit of muscle mass and maintain muscle mass as you get older.
Yeah.
Which there's so many side benefits to just having more muscle mass for your health, for your longevity, for your ability to handle carbohydrate and like curb blood sugar. There's so many benefits to having muscle mass.
Yeah.
And we know that a proxy for how much muscle mass that you have is how much protein you're consuming.
Yeah.
And that's not everything. And just like anything else, you can overconsume anything. If you're a 150-pound woman and you consume 400 grams of protein a day for a long period of time, you're going to have issues.
Negative benefits for sure.
Yeah, you're going to have issues, but it's like high protein, meaning relatively high protein based on the research that's been done and what we've been able to witness in people. Is like, okay, there's no reason really not to be doing this. It's pretty clear that meeting your body's protein needs and requirements is going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
And we can talk about, specific recommendations for what your needs are, but we found out that they're quote unquote relatively high or higher than we thought in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can I think we're like on the surface level of the why for why would you need protein? And we can kind of dig into that a little bit. But the idea is like, it really truly is, it's not just muscle. Like we absolutely need that for muscle building. And then the muscle is important because of all of these other things, regulating insulin resistance response, having the ability to, now that I have enough lean tissue on my body, I have a place where as I consume carbs, I can shuttle those carbs to. It's not going to get stored as fat. We can talk about the idea that like protein is more satiating in the sense that it's going to help you feel full. So if I'm someone who like wants to lose weight and I need to consume that calorie deficit, meaning I'm eating less than I'm burning, like eating something that's going to leave you feeling full longer throughout the day is going to help aid you in that process. And then two, it's also going to assist you to eat that protein because we could dive into like the digestion of protein alone. Like your body is burning more calories trying to absorb and utilize those proteins for what you were talking about, like it needs to do throughout the body. So it's actually working in your favor and burning more of that neat energy expenditure like throughout your day.
Absolutely.
So, it's not that like I got to go run 10 miles because I ate X amount of calories. Like it's like at rest because I consumed, 100 plus grams of protein, like my body is working. It's that thermogenesis, like it's doing its thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the why for protein is ultimately is being healthier.
Because why not?
Protein, dude. No, because I mean it's really just about being a healthier individual.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what this podcast is about. This is what we're passionate about, is like finding different ways to become a healthier individual.
Yeah.
And not everything needs to be perfectly optimized because you can like waste a lot of time and energy doing that.
Yeah.
But there are simple ways to make sure that you're getting enough protein to fulfill your needs so that you can build more muscle, keep more muscle, have more energy, have better looking skin, have eyes that work better. Like, there's so many different like processes that your body needs amino acids and protein for.
Yeah.
Just so it can continue to replace structure, right? Your body's constantly turning over cells. You're constantly like creating micro injuries to your ligaments, tendons, skin that your body's having to repair. If you don't have protein on board, like your body's not going to be.
How are you going to do that?
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to be able to keep up with those demands. So, yeah, as far as consuming protein and why, it's just if you want to be healthier, if you want to feel better, if you want to look better, right? Just integrating some simple habits and changing the way that you view food a little bit can have a huge impact on the long term.
Yeah, and we briefly touched on it. You can probably shed better light on the idea, but certain foods have a higher bioavailability, and kind of at the very base level of that, meaning like the ability for it to be digested, absorbed, and used. You can kind of shed more light on which of those foods are probably best, because when we think about like it is difficult to consume high amounts of protein, especially if you're not used to doing that and it's not a priority of yours. So as we kind of make that shift, that lifestyle change, like we want to consume foods that are highly bioavailable because we want bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to like, I think almost there's a stance of like, especially in this like social media age where it's like, well, top 10 Costco finds. And it really is just like a bunch of like shelf life stuff that's like high in protein. And it's like, I'm just struggling to hit my protein goal because like I'm just drinking shakes and chomp bars and these egg white bites that you can microwave and like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on highly bioavailable protein sources.
Well, I mean, when you look at, say you look at the back of a package and, you know, this has these, what did you say, chomp bites? What was the thing?
Yeah, chomps, which actually are not, I mean, they're legit.
Yeah.
It's like grass-fed, grass-finished.
Okay.
Jerky
I don't know
sticks.
What that. Oh, they're the jerky
but
sticks.
Something like that, like
yeah.
in context, like one of those sticks is only 8-9 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So what are you going to consume? Like 3-4 jerky sticks just like hit your goal. So like that's kind of
a weird meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is, okay, say you're, you know, you're finding these shelf items like some protein bites or something that have like peanuts and you know, a little bit of like vegan protein powder in them or something.
And it is even, I would say, like from a social thing, like because like my wife gets fed a lot of this content.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I'll get it too on my business page, but like even like recipes for like try these like protein bites that I made or
it's
absolutely. A huge thing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so part of it is like marketing, part of it's like trendy, getting protein in, but getting your protein, say you eat a protein bite and it's got 10 grams of protein, right? It's on the package, it says 10 grams of protein. It doesn't necessarily mean that your body is 10 grams of protein from that source, from like something like peanuts, is not going to equal the same amount of protein as 10 grams of protein from a steak. Now there are 10 grams of protein there. But remember the word protein is a catch-all term for amino acids.
Yep.
So something could have, you know, a couple different types of amino acids that aren't even essential amino acids. And it can have a lot of them, and it can have 10 grams of protein from those amino acids. And something could have a huge variety of amino acids, and a lot of which are the essential amino acids that your body needs. And that could also be 10 grams of protein. So you're getting 10 grams of protein either way, quote unquote, but the way that your body responds to that 10 grams of protein is going to be very different.
Totally.
So that's kind of where we get the idea of bioavailability is how many steps does your body, number one, how many steps does your body have to go through to turn that protein, quote unquote, into you?
Yeah. That's a really great way to say that.
That's what's happening is your body's taking that protein bite that you just ate and it's turning that protein bite into you, you, the human being, right? So how many steps does it have to go through in order to do that? How hard is it to do that? You eat a piece of steak or some eggs or some chicken, it's a much quicker, quote unquote, transition. And this is kind of bro science, but it's like your body doesn't have to work very hard to turn that meat into muscle because it's already, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's on a kind of a bro sciencey level that there's that idea, but also the idea of like the amino acids that are actually here and the quality and variety of amino acids.
It's creating a more instant transaction.
Yeah, and your body's able to do a lot more with that 10 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the the idea of bioavailability around how your body uses that and how it's absorbed.
That's money. No, it really does. It makes it clear because while I think it is popular to coin that stuff as like bro science, it's like no, it's because those bros or those people who hit the gym often, that's what they value. That's what they prioritize. And they've crafted these habits and this understanding because it's like
what creates results.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, I like the concept of this too, which this isn't my original idea or original thought, but the idea of like dead food versus living food. Like ultimately the goal of consuming food is to turn that food into you, like we were just talking about, right? A dead food, your body has to work a lot harder in order to turn that dead food into a living being versus consuming living food.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Like fresh,
for sure,
ground or fresh grass-fed ground beef, or like an apple that was just picked off the tree, like a fresh orange. Like those foods are alive, and it's so much more readily assimilated into your system. Your body can like use that for real energy. And when you eat good food, when you eat like a really high quality meal, you can feel it. It's like it's a palpable feeling of, oh, I just ate something and I'm like, I actually feel energized from the meal.
Yes.
That should be your response to a meal.
Yeah.
If you eat something and you just like feel like shit after, or you feel tired after.
And even from a mental standpoint, there's no negative connotation around like shit, shouldn't have eaten that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or,
you feel great.
Or man, I hope I hit my mark. It's like you don't have to play a guessing game. And I like that you said that it is that tangible, like, man, let's go attack the day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's a very satisfying feeling to eat something that like settles. It hits. You're not feeling bloated. You're not feeling tired afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, dang, my body resonated with that.
God bless.
That's one for the freaking.
Yeah, I think it's that idea of it's a shift of perspective. I think the thing that's worked for me, if I'm someone who is kind of lost in this realm of, I want to get healthy and it just seems like this massive hill that I got to go get over to like hit my protein intake. Cause I work with a lot of nutrition clients where that is the case. We're getting to the end of the day and it's like, hey, you were like 40, 50 grams shy. Like what happened? Oh, I'm just so full. Like I just can't hit that mark. And there's a strategy to it. It's not like, you can make that shift overnight. But it's that perspective shift where like for me, every single meal I have, it's a non-negotiable that meal is built off of the protein. And that's the easiest way I could say it is like, I'm going to, for breakfast, I'm going to have, if it's eggs, like, eggs is maybe not a lot of protein. You're going to have to eat quite a few of them to like hit the goal. So it's like, if eggs is like the priority, what can I add to those eggs to then beef that up? And then, for lunch, it's like, I'm going to have some leftover ground beef that we had for dinner the previous night. And then I'm going to build my plate around that ground beef. For dinner, we're going to make some grilled chicken or something. And then that's the priority. And then we're building the plate around that. And if you have trouble hitting your protein intake, like try that. And the other thing I would add is consume that protein first. Because until you can do that and do it on a consistent basis, then we don't need to worry about how much of this other shit we're consuming. Like obviously your body needs like the energy sources from the carbs and the if it's fruits and vegetables and things like that, there's going to be benefit in that. But the goal is we're shifting perspective. Yeah. And we're shifting your ability to day in and day out hit your protein intake as a non-negotiable. So get in the habit of eating that first, prioritizing it, and then looking to those other things. Yeah. That strategy too, like I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that I've had success with if their goal is like weight loss, fat loss, because now you're going to be satiated from that protein and chances are you're not going to eat all that other junk that like where all of your calorie excess was coming from. So just a little tidbit there, but
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you were just saying, it's a mindset shift. Instead of asking yourself, what am I having for breakfast? Oh, I'll have waffles. I'll have cereal. And with that, I'll have like an egg or two.
yeah.
You know, it's like, what am I having for breakfast? I'm having eggs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's for breakfast.
Yep.
And then if like I want or have a little bit of room, you know, I'm still a little bit hungry. Maybe I'll have, you know, a banana or a waffle or a little bit of cereal or something. But it's just literally just flipping in your mind, like, this is what's for breakfast and this is what's extra.
Yes.
Eggs are for breakfast. Anything else is extra.
Yep.
Ground beef is for lunch. Anything else is extra. Chicken's for dinner.
Yeah.
Whatever else, you know, again, it's just putting that as the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I, if you can also wrap your mind around the fact that the eggs, the steak, the chicken, the pork, whatever it is, that is where you're getting the large proportion of your nutrition from.
Yeah.
Like you really are. You're getting most of the minerals, vitamins, protein, fat. You're getting the biggest bang for your buck as far as nutrients go and nutrient density is right there.
Yeah, like if all I had the room for was like that steak, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a shit ton of macros and micronutrients right there.
Yeah, you're getting B vitamins, you're getting iron, you're getting creatine, you're getting fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. You're getting so many nutrients from that high-quality animal protein.
Yeah.
It's like the white rice is good energy and carbohydrates if you're going to go train or you're training the next day or you need to recover from a workout, but there's not a lot of like actual nutrition, vitamins and minerals in something like white rice.
Yeah.
So if you can flip that switch in your mind to realize that where the actual value is for your body is in the eggs or the steak or the chicken or the salmon, then you can kind of like switch that priority in your mind. Like, this is what I need to focus on. Yeah. And then whatever else I consume is extra.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like to live in the camp too. Like, listen, I'll do my diligence to source my food well. And for the most part, like I try to, if it's beef, it's like, I'm trying to look if it's grass fed, grass finished. If it's chicken, I'm trying to look for the organic. But this can be done like it still can be done in a low hanging fruit aspect. Like, and I would encourage people that way. Like, we joked about the cutting board guys and all that stuff.
Shirt off, cutting board out.
What I think that attitude in some ways, it scares people to be like, well, if I can't source the best thing, then fuck me.
If I can't be perfect.
If I can't be perfect, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
It can be done in a very feasible, affordable, tangible way for everybody, man. Like, sometimes, dude, like we'll go nights where we're ordering like a Yogi's Grill. That's an example. It's a local like spot that they do like kind of Asian like teriyaki chicken bowls.
Okay.
Like that's tangible for any consumer that like, oh man, I'm short on time, or I'm driving around at work, and that's there where you could go and you could get chicken and you could get rice and you could get veggies, like, and like, well, maybe it's not the highest of quality of food, but like it is the right choice in that set.
Same thing with Chipotle.
Exactly. So like, we're not over here being like, while most of the time, like we like to for ourselves, like value the sourcing of those foods, like it really truly is about the main objective, and that is like prioritizing the right amounts and types of macros, like truly, like
for sure. And finding the best sourcing, like that's like the last 10%. Like step one is reframe your mind to focus on protein. Step two is eating protein from good sources.
Yeah.
Right, animal proteins. And then step 3 would be like, okay, now like if you want to take that final step, if you want to go the extra distance, and it's almost even more of like it's almost like a hobby for me, or like part of things it's like something I personally enjoy finding high quality food. Like,
it is kind of like once you get on that train, I will say, like, going into like a little farmer's market and be like, man, they have like pasture raised eggs, like, and you're buying it from like a local source and you're supporting the small business. Like, it is kind of that, like, sure, you're going to pay a little bit more for it, but like, No, I would agree. Like when you get into that realm, it is kind of
Yeah.
like a hobby in a sense. Like,
Yeah, it's not like a burden for me.
yeah.
I enjoy finding ways to source high quality food.
And
so
it's
that I
like
can,
I'm patting myself on the back because you're fueling yourself with that quality of food.
I enjoy that. And I enjoy that energy exchange of like buying eggs at the local market that I know are soy free and corn free and they're, from chickens that were raised outside. Like I'm okay with paying a little extra money to like the local person who's going, spending their lives doing that so that I can have really good eggs and feel good after I eat them. That's I enjoy that. That's fun for me, you know, but again, step one is like restructure your perception so that you're focusing your meals around protein. Step two is make sure you're getting protein from animal sources, which is the best, highest quality protein. And then if you want to take it beyond that, then it's like, okay, you can start looking at how well you can source these things.
Yeah. And the best thing you can do, and like it all starts with what you buy at the store. Like the more meals you can make at home from food that you can personally source from the grocery store, like the better off you're going to be. And when you're at the grocery store, like I don't give a fuck how many, like I'm going to be blunt about this, like how many like popular, again, top 10 Costco finds or Trader Joe's finds videos you've watched on like these packaged goods and all this stuff. Like we talked about the quality of those amino acids versus like go to the produce section, go to the meat section, go to the real food sections in your grocery store, and that's where you need to be shopping for the majority of your things.
Yes.
And like, don't get me wrong, like I was just at Costco today and my kids love like the Bear chicken bites, like the chicken tenders, like you'll throw them in the air fryer and that's,
Bro, shame on you.
It will do chicken sausages every now and then and things like that. That's packaged, but like, the majority of the things that we eat, it's like, it's steak, it's chicken, it's eggs, it's pork, it's fish. Like, because why the hell do I need all this packaged stuff? Why the hell do I need this new sous vide prepackaged thing? Like,
all
it's
the extra
there
ingredients.
For convenience. It's not a necessity.
Yeah. All the extra ingredients. You're actually probably spending more money buying those prepackaged things.
Yeah.
And like you were just saying, even though some of the packaged things you're buying are animal protein based.
And they're like I said, they're convenient, they're good options, they give you some variety. If it's like I don't know how to cook really well, or I don't know how to marinate a steak, or maybe I don't have the time for my lunch break to like cook and go grill a thing, like
grill a ribeye at lunch.
I think that's why those things exist, for convenience sake, but like there are workarounds to where like you could prep your food, you could cook more at night when you have the time, you could spend your weekends like prepping some food to take with you throughout the week. Like there's workarounds, but like shop the damn real food sections of the store.
Yes.
And as much as you can, like make food at home, because you're going to set yourself up for success.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk about 80-20 or 90-10, like being on it for 90% of the time and then giving yourself grace 10% of the time. I would just challenge you that your 10% should be like some of those pre-packaged chicken sausage things that are like a little bit more convenient, or your 10% could be ordering food in from Chipotle or something where you're like getting, meat, and you're getting at least some meat, vegetables, rice, quality food. Your 10% doesn't need to be freaking cake or pie or ice cream.
No, that's a good point.
Or like ding dongs.
Because
like,
it's that instant like, oh, well, here's my 10%, so I'm just going to like indulge like heavy. And like, don't get me wrong, like I love an In-N-Out burger every now and then, but like that's a very small percentage of like what I'm consuming on a regular basis. Yeah.
So if you're trying to like live like 90-10 or 80-20, and you're being really on top of it for the most part, again, shop the real food sections of your store, make food at home. That should be your 80% or your 90%. And then the 10 to 20% is the times where you need the convenience, but you're still making, pretty intelligent decisions. Yeah. It's not like
absolutely
freaking getting French toast for dinner or something. Like,
just giving up.
Yeah,
in that other window.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Your 10% isn't.
It's like that. It's like giving yourself a little leeway so that you can continue to make 80% of those quality decisions.
Yes. Yeah, and freaking just eat like an adult. we know what we're doing out here. We don't need milkshakes. Come on, guys.
Dude. Oh, they are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like 1%.
So I think a lot of people struggle with what is the right amount? Like, where do we start when it comes to that?
Yeah. So like prescribed RDA or recommended daily allowance is like 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
Which is super low.
Super low.
So if you were a 200-pound person, you're roughly like 90 kilograms. So that would be 0.8 of that. It would be like, 75 grams of protein.
So low.
For a 200-pound person.
I think I eat that at like breakfast most days.
Yeah, for a 200-pound person, that's super low. It's too low for anyone who's active or
and just all the different processes we've got going on.
Yeah, older people especially, you're trying to hold on to muscle mass. Yeah, so that's definitely too low. Where we found that muscle protein synthesis kind of tops out is at this like roughly 1 gram per pound of body weight number. So as a 200-pound man, about 200 grams of protein is roughly where your body stops responding in a linear fashion to the protein intake with muscle growth. So if you eat 200 grams of protein, you're going to put on X amount of muscle when you're working out as a 200-pound person. If you eat 300 grams, you're not going to get more bang for your buck. You're not going to get more results in the gym from eating the extra protein. So,
and there's like strategies, and like if I was working with someone with their macros where you could bump that up to 300 with the goal of like eliciting different changes. Maybe it's not like as an example, if I am working with like a really, really overweight client, like a large dude, let's say, and we're trying to get body fat down, like sometimes a strategy could be, hey, let's bump that up to like 250, 300 so that you feel more satiated, you feel more full. We can focus on retaining as much muscle mass as we possibly can so that we can get that body fat down. But like, like you're saying, you can get capped out on how much you can use to a certain extent. Yeah,
pretty much. So it seems like the top end is about that 1 gram per pound of body weight, like you were saying. But it also can kind of correlate with like goal body weight. So like you were just saying, maybe you're training like a 300-pound guy who wants to get down to 200 pounds. You could put him at 200 grams of protein, and that would be plenty sufficient for his protein needs. But like you were saying, if you put him at 300 grams, you're giving him more calories from protein, which are almost free calories because of the thermogenic effect, meaning your body's burning calories to digest the protein. He's getting to feel more satiated, so he's not feeling the need to eat as much carbohydrates and fats.
He's gonna feel like he's got what he needs to.
Yeah, so it could be like you're saying, it could be a good strategy to help someone lose fat or help someone maintain muscle who's in like a big calorie deficit.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like your needs as a human being, that 1 gram per pound of body weight is like top end. So I think for most people, especially if you're not really, really active, 0.7, 0.8 grams per pound. So if you're a 100-pound person, 70 to 80. If you're a 200-pound person, 140 to 160 grams is plenty. You only really need to go above that to that 1 gram per pound range if you are like athlete, doing sports, lifting 5-6 days a week. Then you'll notice some significant benefit from upping it to that level. But I think average person,
the more breakdown you're causing,
the
more you're going to have to rebuild.
Exactly. And it could be different. Your needs can be different day to day, but in general, I think if you're moderately active or you're dabbling in the gym and you're trying to, make an improvement in your health, 0.8 grams per pound seems to be a pretty good target.
It's a money spot.
Yes.
And it makes it like, we keep using that word, like tangible. It makes it tangible. It makes it feasible for the average individual because it's not this like unfathomable number that I have to hit in kind of changing some of those like mindsets, I guess. Like I think sometimes, if you take someone who has weight loss goals, let's say, they're a female who's just an example, 195 pounds, and you're like, hey, you're going to eat 1.1 gram per pound of body weight. They're like, I have to eat 195 grams of protein. And then sometimes you could be like, well, I could bump that down to 150. They're still going to get everything they need in some ways to make it, like I said, a little bit more feasible for the individual.
And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but if you're reframing your mindsets where you're centering your meals around protein, it's really not that out of range to hit 150 grams of protein as an average sized adult, right? An average sized adult male, 150 grams of protein.
Yep.
It's going to be about right. If you're, I guess, average, maybe not average because a lot of us are overweight, but if like you're like 5'9" to 6 feet tall, roughly 180 pounds, right? Like that, like pretty, healthily average sized person, 150 grams of protein.
It's a good amount.
Yeah. And if you eat 6 ounces of beef or chicken at lunch and dinner, and you eat, 3 or 4 eggs at breakfast, and you throw in like one protein supplement in there, or like some collagen in your coffee, or you get those 3 meals and then like one little supplement somewhere, you're there. So it's really not, if you're centering your food around eggs, around beef, around chicken, around pork, then hitting 150 grams is not going to be a problem, really. Yeah,
that's one of the, and we can get you into details of like the grams and the macros and the percentages and those things. Like, and sometimes that can be overwhelming in a sense. Like another really easy way, I mean, you described it already, that it's really easy if we just break it into like, man, if I had 3 to 4 meals a day, and at each one of those meals I have, protein the size of the palm of my hand, like I'm going to be pretty close.
Yes.
Like that'd be one of the easiest ways you could do it, is like, I'm going to cook up this food, and on my plate I'm going to scoop out that portion, and boom. And if you want a little bit more, like you said, it's almost like free calories. Like if I'm like, man, I'm still hungry, it's like, just eat a little bit more of that protein. Because why not?
Yeah, man. And then, another really important variable here with the protein consumption and how much you need as a person is going to depend on your genetics and your ancestry.
Yeah.
So that 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, that prescription is, again, it's kind of a generic prescription, which is one of the issues with studies in general. Obviously we rely heavily on research studies for information and for moving the needle and making progress with, what is optimal for humans. But one of the problems too is that when you do a study, you do a large research sample, which is what we typically we want a large sample of people, so we get a large data set, and we can get the most information from that. But then we end up focusing in on the averages or the mean, right? And so if you tell 100 people, 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, then on average they're going to have, pretty good results. But there's going to be a lot of individuals in that group that could have done a lot better with a different prescription.
Yeah.
Because people are unique, right? So, just as an example, if your ancestry is more like Arctic or Alaskan or Northern European, like those populations lived in very cold weather where the ground was freezing a lot of the time, didn't have a lot of access to fresh plant foods, which means they're consuming most of their calories from animals. So large amounts of protein, large amounts of fat, and
little carbs.
Very little carbs, and lots of salt too, to store that meat, because you could preserve meat with salt. So larger amounts of salt as well, which can be a consideration. If your ancestry developed and evolved closer to the equator, then warm temperatures, right, all year round, a lot of plant foods, a little bit less animal foods, probably leaner animal foods, like smaller game, birds, things like that, compared to cold weather animals are typically bigger and fattier. So that's just another consideration. And
it's
a lot of people now, like so many of us are mutts now, right?
Of course, yeah.
So if you like look at a nutrition book or a general nutrition prescription for macronutrients, the typical was like that 40-30-30, right? 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat. And that's like, again, that's that generic prescription that overall is very good for most people, right? But again, there's going to be individuals who don't do well with that because they have almost exclusively Northern European genetics or almost exclusively South American genetics.
Yeah.
Right? So those two people are going to need different prescriptions to thrive. So someone who's more Northern European might do a lot better on higher protein and higher fat and lower carbohydrates, even as low as like 10 to 20% carbohydrate. And someone who has, equatorial, closer to the equator, South American genetics, they're going to thrive better on, 40, 50, even up to 60% carbohydrate from their diet.
That's so unique. Like it's an interesting perspective that most of us are not even remotely aware of.
Yeah, and it has to there's physical differences too. Like people different ancestries have different sized stomachs and different sized pancreases and different lengths of intestines to handle, digesting more carbohydrates or more grains or more proteins and fats. So, you can mess yourself up if you have really heavy Northern European genetics and you're eating a 70% carbohydrate diet for a long time. You're probably going to run into a lot of gut issues because you're going to be fermenting carbohydrates because your body can't process them.
Yeah, something to be said too. I've heard the joke about protein farts, which comes from typically it's if you're having supplements and stuff like that.
Yeah, protein powders.
That's not a good reaction from the body.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I was under that impression too. I was just I'm just
what it
eating
is.
a lot of protein. No, that's actually your gut being like, hey, this isn't cool. I need something different. Whether it's less or a different type or
it could be cheap protein powder, but then also if you're farting a lot and it smells like shit
or bloated all the time.
If you fart and it smells awful, you're laughing,
dude, because we had another episode too where we talked about things that will always be funny to especially guys, farts by far. Yeah.
But if you fart and it smells awful, something died in your body, that's a sign.
Hey man,
that's a sign that something's not going well. Your body's trying to get your attention. Yo, shit is happening in here.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, yeah.
I think too, you just to take the stress off of those are amazing statistics, and we are, like you said, we're all unique individuals. I think an easy way, if you're a person who wants to decipher what's the right size for me, it's go in maybe with that mean average or that, that 40, 30, 30, like you talked about, and then figure out how to adjust, because we've talked about many times, we have the ability to course correct and to kind of scientific method ourselves to figure out what works best for us, man.
Yes.
If you're a little bit higher and you're someone who maybe doesn't function with that higher total and you're getting some of these, gut experiences and you're lethargic or, your skin is acting up or things like that, make a little bit of adjustment and see how that, makes you feel.
I love that you bring that up and that you just said that because
that was in your head. I was in your mind.
You were just pulled it right out of me, dude. That's one of the things that I am just the most passionate about with health, with fitness, what it's really about is developing a relationship with yourself. That's so much of what it is. And there's other layers to that, as far as mental health and how you relate to people and your emotional well-being, but health and fitness, how you feel and how you perform and, your physical activity, how, trying, kind of wrestling with that task of trying to be healthier and trying to get in better shape. That is the spark. That is the first domino in building this relationship with yourself and trying to figure out, okay, who am I? What am I? What is this? What all these messages mean? And you just brought up such a good point of start here, start with that mean, right? That 0.8 grams per pound of body weight protein intake, that 40, 30, 30 macro split, 40% carbohydrates, 30% fat, 30% protein. Start there if you're interested in pursuing these things, and then pay attention. Pay attention to what your body is telling you.
Yes.
Like we were just saying, your stinky farts are not just funny. their actual messages.
Yeah.
Their actual messages.
Yeah, or another one, like if you're so bloated to where you can't consume more food and you're really missing the mark.
Yeah.
It's course correct, make the adjustment.
You're eating something that your body does not like.
Yeah.
Pay attention and adjust. And yeah, and I love that you brought that up because that's that's one of the things I'm so passionate about. This in general is building that relationship with yourself.
Kind of maybe one of the last sections of this whole thing is we briefly talked about like supplementation. Like, I think with that kind of stuff, like, while it is helpful and it has its place, I always encourage people, it like fills the gaps.
Yep.
Like where Whole Foods can't alone. Like our message is pretty clear, hopefully at this episode, of like Whole Foods are king in everything, whether it's meat and proteins, whether it's vegetables, fruits, you name it. Whole Foods will always trump whatever you're going to try and supplement. But that stuff is really helpful to fill the gaps. Like I supplement every single day because, you know, if I'm consuming 200 grams of protein a day, like that's a lot of food. It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is easier to grab a shake or whatever you need. So, but yeah, prioritizing whole foods above all else, and then figuring out that right supplement that's going to fit in, that's going to agree with you, like we talked about, and that's going to help you ultimately hit your protein goal for the day. Like that's where I would say that fits.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with supplementing, right? We talked about essential amino acids, right? The 9 essential amino acids that are that your body can take those 9 and create, you know, use those building blocks to create whatever amino acid it wants or needs in the moment. I love that as a supplement. Yeah. And it's way more effective than branch chain amino acids, which, you know, were popularized like, 20 years ago, and were kind of popular in the space for a while, but recently, studies have come out and it's been shown that, supplementing with all 9 essential amino acids versus just the 3 branch chain amino acids is a lot more effective for maintaining muscle mass and energy during workouts. So, even I love that as a supplement for my clients who are, I have a couple clients that are,
because you can just get that straight, like versus like a whey isolate or any one of these like protein,
exactly.
saying.
It's just the amino acids. There's no other ingredients. Say you don't do well with dairy or whey for some reason, or you don't want to be exposed to maybe like flavorings or artificial sweeteners. To just taking essential amino acids in a powder or a capsule form can be a really powerful way to supplement your protein intake, and it's easy.
Yeah, BCA is another one too. You mentioned like I think there is a place for those. Yeah, but I also have a stance where I think it's more just a marketable thing. In some ways, because like you said, like it's just 3 branch chain amino acids, and if you're eating a well balanced whole food diet, prioritizing protein intake, like you don't need more of that. Yeah, potentially, but I think there's a couple instances where those can be helpful. A couple of those that I'll, list off because I'll encourage clients with them. Like, I've come across quite a few clients who now on semaglutide, trizepatide, some of these like different peptides and medications to counteract like diabetes and be altering in, your appetite suppression and things like that, where eating enough calories and eating enough protein becomes really difficult because the job of that medication is to suppress appetite. So I think in those instances, it can be helpful to supplement with some of those BCAAs, and so that you're consuming enough and you're not going to be like malnourished.
I'd say if you're going to supplement BCAAs, you should just throw those out and do EAs instead, because they're just more effective.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but yes, and that same exact idea is like, and then like whey protein is, it got popular, and it's been popularized because it's very quickly digested, and it's high in leucine, which is key for signaling muscle protein synthesis specifically for like muscle growth and muscle repair. So, that can be good if you get a good quality one and you do okay with whey. Some people are like really sensitive to it. But then you can find protein powders that are egg protein based or beef protein based, or there's a lot of different options out there. So
absolutely,
if you need to supplement something, or especially right after a workout, can be can be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another instance too would be someone who's kind of more that plant-based diet, which again, it's not necessarily wrong. It's just it's just that you have to consume more of those proteins, and two, something like one of these supplements can be helpful in you, because what those plant-based supplements don't have is all of those essential amino acids. So in some way, whether it's consuming more of them or having a supplement that's helpful, you can add that in, and then you can kind of complete the puzzle, if you will. So
absolutely.
If you're not maybe one of those two people, I'd say I don't know that there's a huge need, as long as you're focusing on the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah. Stan Efferding?
I feel like I've heard that name.
The Rhino, Stan Efferding?
No, I don't know.
One of the only dudes, I think he might be the only guy to simultaneously hold an IFBB pro card for bodybuilding and also hold a world record in powerlifting.
Damn.
Yeah, so one of the greatest strength athletes. He's an older dude now, but he's still...
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still jacked.
A picture of his face.
Really cool. Great coach.
Yeah.
Great nutrition coach. But he has a saying, shakes are for fakes, eat steaks.
I like it.
I like it. I love that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's all good stuff. And I think, hopefully what's gathered from this episode is that it is highly attainable, and it is merely just a shift in perspective versus, putting up that guard and trying to like fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fight the current. Go with it, because it's going to be so much more better for you in the end.
Yeah.
If you can make some of these changes. So,
yep. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're interested in going this direction and working on your health, then this is definitely a good place to start, is just being mindful of, your protein intake and what you're putting in your mouth in general. So big.
Yeah. Sweet, brother.
Cool, man.